getting a good entry price, a price that we want in our trade, makes it much easier to manage that trade going forward. But how do you get a good entry price? Our guest is here to talk to us today about that, Mike Toma. Mike, thanks for being here.
Hi, great to be here, Tim.
All right, so if I want a good price on every trade that I do, of course, but what are some tips for getting good entry prices on all my trades?
Well, there's a few different types of ways you can approach this. And I always look at it as really breaking it down to two different types of strategies. One is a responsive type strategy where you pretty much set your limit order at a price that you feel there's support or the cause of reason getting into the trade in the first place. You put it there, wait for price to come to you, and it just executes right there. Really the goal with that is looking for that quick bounce and then moving on to hopefully your target, eventual target, but then you have options whether you want to scale out or not. The other option that I see a lot of traders do is sort of a confirmation trading style, where they know the area where they feel there's support, but they wait for a certain bounce or confirmation or some indicator to tell them, okay, I've confirmed now, this is bouncing, and so I'm going to get in on it. There's advantages and disadvantages to either one, but you have to be careful, and again, making sure you know where your entry point is very important.
All right, now once I know on the chart where that resistance or support is, where that level is, what about trying to get a better price between the bid and ask and trying to get in there and not paying retail, if you will, trying to get wholesale prices on to give myself a little bit more of an edge?
Yeah, I mean, really, entry is everything. It's about finding that price that you feel is closest to your support level and at the same time gives you enough leeway, because we're not perfect, to give that leeway to have a certain risk in mind to where you know you're wrong. For example, in a responsive trade, the benefit of it is if it bounces right off your support, you're in a profit mode the whole time. So now you may be looking at target, you can maybe put your stops at break even. You're looking at really a really game where you're booking the house in a sense. You're either going to win or break even. Confirmation traders have a little more challenge to where sometimes if they're chasing it or they wait for that bounce, they may not be getting the optimal price. Now they may have that. Sometimes instead of calling it confirmation, I call it comfortmation, because a lot of the traders feel comfortable waiting for confirmation. But in a responsive trader, such as myself most of the times, especially in sort of a choppy balance market, they're chasing me. I'm already in. So when they're buying, they're actually fueling my price to target.
Yeah, I think even for me as a trader, what I found is if it starts to move away from me, I want to chase it because I think, oh, it's going to be a great trade. It's already working out. I should be in this. At what point do I say, if I didn't get the price I want, it's time to back off. I'll wait for the next one.
Well, the point is exactly when you say, I didn't get the price I want. So the thing is, you have to be really selective, because every point is so important. Not necessarily if you're going to have a 5-point target and you end up taking 4 points, that's still a great trade. But when you're in that early stages of the management, if you have those 4 or 5 ticks in front of you, now you can start managing it a little differently. You can start reducing risk. You can start looking at target management. And you're in a confirmation setup where you already chased 1.5 points, I may be looking at my first target while you're scrambling just to break even. So it's important to understand the two different parts of it. Not all of them work in each different types of markets. You have to understand your own risk tolerance and understand what you're most comfortable with. But one thing I know, at least for me, is historically, responsive trading, putting that order out there right at my confirmation point, is historically the best win percentage that I have, per se, versus confirmation. There's a time for both, but understand this is not a business about being comfortable. It's about being successful.
Mike, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Tim.